Hi, everybody. It's another C3UG video. I'm Graham Akers from Brightech Systems in Vancouver. Gordon?
And I'm Gordon Hegfield from HCL, coming to you from Amherst, New Hampshire. Heiko?
And Heiko Voigt from Harbor Light Software in Halifax. Back to you, Graham.
Right, so today's topic is a bit of a theme for C3UG. We've been pushing and learning all about the AppDevPack, and we're here today to talk about the new release of the AppDevPack version 1.0.5 and all the cool and fun new features that HCL has made available to us to be able to take advantage of. So we're going to flip it over to Gordon to run us through some of those things, and then we'll talk about all of the cool new features that we've got coming. So take it away, Gordon.
Okay, so I need to share my screen. All right, how's that looking? Okay?
Yep. Perfect.
All right, so let's start the slideshow. All right, so that's the intro. You already know who I am. So today we're going to talk about the new stuff in 1.05. So there's quite a few things here. The first thing is a Domino DB API for Java. So this is essentially analogous to the Node.js API, but it's for Java developers. And I'll talk a little more about that in the next slide. We also have added API for rich text creation and editing. We've also added a configuration database for Proton. So this will streamline your configuration tasks and get you out of Notes Ini. And we've added multiple item support for Node Domino DB. I'll explain a little more about that. And also improve the instructions for the make certs and make keyring scripts, because I know those are a constant source of pain for people trying to set this up. And we've made some improvements for reliability for long runs. So you've basically got rid of some memory leaks in Proton. So that's the agenda. So first, Domino DB for Java. As I said, it's analogous to the Node Domino DB API, but it's tailored to Java, obviously. So there's things that are different about Java coding. But it is an async API. It still uses DQL. Uses the Proton backend via gRPC protocol. Supports Java 1.8 and higher, and it uses the same security model as Node Domino DB. Now, currently, it's a tech preview. There's some things missing that are called out in the documentation. But, this is a good time to kick the tires on this. So what I wanted to do was actually switch out here to Eclipse and show you what the code looks like. So let's see, get that arranged. So here we have essentially just a very basic program that connects to a server, opens a database, performs a query, and brings back a bunch of documents that match a DQL query. So you can see, if you've done anything with a Domino DB API, the Node API, I should say, it looks very similar. So there's a server object, there's database object, there's document object. Basically, you use the same kind of async methods. The only difference is, of course, you don't have an async and await keywords in Java. Instead, there's this get that you can put on the end that essentially, as it says, it waits for the computation to complete and then retrieves the result. Let's see, I can probably run this with this. Let's see if it runs. There we go. Yes, hang on. I'll prove that I actually have running code. There we go. There's a list of people from the contacts list from the Node demo database. So as I said, this is the new Java API. It's pretty straight ahead. for the most part, it should be, if you've used the the Node API, you'll be very comfortable with this. And if you've used any of the async Java APIs, this will also be, I think, pretty familiar to you. So that's the Java APIs. Any questions on that?
No, I was just going to say I can confirm it looks exactly like the JavaScript code, like in the AppDevPack course that we've done. The code pretty much matches directly up with the sample that we built. So that looks pretty familiar to me.
Right. So, and just a couple of notes on the installation. It comes with a jar files package with the AppDevPack archive, and it also has the Java doc as a separate jar that you can set up to be associated with the API and Eclipse. I'm sure most people that watch this video will know how to do that. So, so that's the Domino DB for Java. So the next thing we've added is the rich text API, and it's a new Node module. It's a completely separate module from the Domino DB API. And the nice thing about it doesn't have any dependencies.
Quick question, just a quick question for the Java API. Is there feature parity yet between the Node Domino DB stuff and the Java APIs?
There are things that we still have to do. It doesn't support the rich text API. There's a couple other things it doesn't support. It's in the documentation. I don't have it off the top of my head. So no, there's not feature parity yet. Working on that for next release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's why it's tech preview. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So the rich text API, it's just comes in a jar, or not a jar file, but an archive file, and you install it like you do with the Domino DB API. And essentially right now we've got APIs that you can traverse through the rich text, kind of like you can with the C APIs for those that have used that. You can actually create rich text fields completely from scratch. You can modify them. Right now, the support is really there for paragraph styles, fonts, and text. And that's pretty much it. Everything else kind of comes through as what we call like a placeholder class. It also supports the Limbix to Unicode translation, which I don't know how many developers actually realize that all the translation that's going on. If you're using Java or Lotus scripts or whatever, you don't have to really worry about Limbix. But if you use a C API, Limbix is the character set that's used to store all string data in Domino databases. Well, string data that's in rich text fields in particular. And anytime you want to work with it in JavaScript or Java or Lotus script, something has to translate that from Limbix to Unicode. So that's all had to be done again in JavaScript. So actually I wanted to just show you what that API looks like. Go out to my documentation. As soon as I find it. So it's over here on the advanced topics of the AppDevPack documentation. So there's just a couple of things to point out. One is if you want to just read through rich text, I'm going to go up here a little bit farther. The idea here is that you retrieve the rich text content using the Domino DB APIs, and this API essentially takes as input a buffer, Node.js buffer, right? So you can essentially with the this first API, the rich text reader, you can essentially rip through a rich text field, and it essentially enumerates through every record and calls your callback, and it passes you a signature. And then if it's a record that you're interested in, a record type that you are interested in, you can at that point create an instance call this create instance function, which returns a class that has properties on it, that are appropriate for that rich text type. This is the fastest one to do because it doesn't do a lot of object creation until you actually want it to. So this is a way to essentially read through and grab some content out of a rich text field. The next thing you can do is there's another API called rich text field, and this is what you can use to create rich text context. And essentially, I won't go through all the code here, but what essentially the pattern is this: is you create the rich text field, and the first thing you're always interested in is the paragraph definition, or PAB definition for short. So there's a bunch of code here that sets up the margins on the paragraph, and then you essentially have to add a paragraph to a rich text field so that these styles are applied. And then the next thing you can do here is if you want to add text, the font ID is actually associated with text, so the text run. So you create this thing called the font ID fields class, which is pretty self-explanatory, and you can add text like this, and then you basically turn it back into a buffer, Node.js buffer, and push it back to the server with the Domino DB API that we added in the last release. So that's the basic pattern. The things that are supported, well, there's a way to modify, which is, it's essentially the same pattern. You can find what you want, make a change to it, and send it back to the server. The things that are supported here, I don't know if you can see that, are right now text runs, colors, fonts, the paragraph definitions, and then there's the overall container classes, and then things to do with paragraphs like tabs and color definitions, things like that. That's the extent of what's supported this time around. Anybody who's motivated and wants to can also manipulate the raw data if you're that adventurous. But this is what we've got right now for the rich text support. So any questions on that?
So this kind of this part of the API is basically a helper for the raw data that comes from the regular Domino DB rich text part, right? Yes,
right. Yeah, it's like I said, it's it's a work in progress, like many things, but it's a start.
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing is the AppDev configuration database. So we've created a Notes app, and it's for AppDev related config. I mean, right now it's limited to Proton because for this release, as you would expect, it provides better validation than just typing things into Notes Any, and it has some convenience functions. Which are useful, especially for those maybe not as used to Domino yet. So I'm going to attempt a demo of this. Got to find my Notes client. There we are. And I broke my configuration on purpose, so I hope I didn't break it too bad. So let's see. So it's just a database called AppDevPack configuration. And as you can see, this is what it looks like, and there's just right now home or Proton. And what you would do if you're installing this for the first time is you create this database from the template, and then you come out here and you say add server configuration, and this thing will pull in the inis that you currently have, right? And so it's going to say it picks a server, so it doesn't have to be. It can be any server that it can find in your domain, I think. And it comes up, and there you go. So there's all my ini settings that are now pulled into this document, right? And another nice thing it does is For the introspection credentials, it actually is going out to the credential store, and it's listing through them, and it'll just let you pick which one you want. Which is another nice thing. It keeps people from sort of typing the wrong thing. And like I said, all the settings that you have in Notes.ini are now here. And if I save, I'm going to save this and come back to it, because I don't know what my server was doing. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to restart. Okay, so actually, go back in here. Now there's some convenience functions up here, which I actually could have done that here. I could have said restart task. You can push the button here and restart the task. You can start it. You can check the status. You can stop it. What this does is it adds Proton to server tasks, the server tasks line in the Notes.ini, and just removes it.
Nice.
So yeah, a few little things like that, right? That help keep you from making typo mistakes, which is you waste a lot of time with that. And then you'll notice over here you got this little arrow thing, which that essentially indicates that if you change that, you've got to restart the Proton task. So
cool.
Yeah, I think it's and then like right here, like you can enable, disable certain features, right? So all those are just checkboxes now. For some
that's
reason,
great.
Yeah.
Speaking as the guy who recorded the videos, and of course Heiko wrote the documentation based on what came from HCL for 103, and having to go into the Notes.ini and do those updates and then go back and restart and so on. This is fantastic. I love what you guys have done here. This looks great.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's like I said, we'll move more of our configuration, like for the auth to SAPI filter, into this, in future releases, and keep on using this for other app dev related config. I think it's going to help a lot. So that's the configuration database, and there go my wind chimes. I hope that's not too annoying in the background. Let's see. Oh yes, the next thing was duplicate item support. So I don't know how often folks run into this. So as everyone that watches this video probably knows, that you can have notes items with the same name repeated in a notes document. That's pretty common for rich text because of the 64K limit on an item. You have to, of course, repeat items in order to store data larger than 64K. So while that support is native for rich text, it's not for other types of items, type text and type text list and number and the other types that the Node.js Domino DB API supports today. So today, if you use Domino DB to access a note that has multiple items with the same name, you will get I believe it's the last item in the sequence, and the others will just be thrown away when you read the data. And so what we've done is we have a way to say represent these multiple items with a top level array. So the idea here, though, is we don't want to break existing apps that may have been working sort of by accident, right? So you have to specify the property duplicate items equals true to actually get this behavior to happen. But now you can get multiple items to come back to you in an array. So if the second bullet here where it says genus, that would be like an item in a document. Basically, this is showing you two items with the same name right here, with actually the same type in this case, in the array. And you can replace items back using the same notation, which is pretty handy. So that's the duplicate item support. That's like I said, we added. I don't know how many. I don't know how often people run into this in the wild, as it were, but I know I have in a few cases. So we've added that, and it's pretty cool. So that's it for the new features. Any questions?
I just like the idea that in this particular case anyway, this is a hole that's been plugged. So as you say, people may or may not run into it or have it happen regularly. But I know for myself, you always kind of chase down a rabbit hole at some point and learn something new in terms of a roadblock, for example. And in this particular case, you can go, oh, hey, there's a fix for that. Cool. Let's just keep working. So that's nice to see.
So that's it in a nutshell for 105 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said there was a documentation updates or something like that. There was something else on your original list.
Let me look.
Let's go back to the agenda.
Yes, there's improved instructions here for make certs and the make keyring scripts, because those people tend to get those mixed up, and I mean,
in the videos that we did for the course, I took my time going through those particular scripts. So yeah, to be able to call those out and better describe what's going on at each step, I think is a welcome improvement.
Yeah, I think so too. And I was threatening to change my job description because that seemed like all I was doing was helping people with certificate issues for quite a while. So
it did slow us down when we were recording the course. So that's in the AppDevPack documentation specifically.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yep. So that is it.
Awesome. Okay. Any other quick thoughts there, Heiko?
Well, we've been through. I've been through my first updates from updating to 105 from 104 and one server from 103, also on Linux. There's a couple of things that I stumbled upon, especially as you have to go through a couple of sequences. The 105 AppDevPack now needs Node.js 12 LTS as the base runtime for all the Node components. So you have to update your Node version on everything like for IAM and also for your applications. So that's a thing that needs to be taken into consideration. And then there's a couple of things that you have to follow on to get it set up and installed. But the configuration database actually is a pretty cool thing because you can just install it with your old, so to speak, 103, 104 implementation, and just read in your configuration from your init before you do any updates. So that's a cool thing as well. And so your configuration is up and running as soon as you do the update, which I think is pretty cool as well. So that's a good thing. And we also did already an addendum to the AppDevPack course. So an update of the finalized course environment that is currently running, I think it's 104, right, Graham? Mm-hmm. That's currently running 104.
No. For the course, I stuck with 103.
Okay.
For the course, I stuck with 103.
Anyways, doesn't matter. So it's 103, and I've already uploaded a guide on how do you set up 105 with this environment, so you can use the latest and greatest from there. So that's all in the course. So just feel free to get this. And
that's right. And I think it's important to not undersell the upgrade of JavaScript in 105. So in the course I spend a bunch of time talking about how to specifically install JavaScript. Node version 10, and so to go to Node 12, it's pretty self-explanatory based on the content of the course, so it shouldn't be that much trouble. But just again, make sure you're paying attention.
Yeah, I came up with an addendum to that. So to make that even easier, I just threw in a couple of things to how to install Node Version Manager on your environment, so you can go back and forth between the Node instances. that you might need. So in case you run into anything, that you break something on the way, you just can revert back to everything that has been working before. So we'll just tie in another layer of keeping you safe for that as well.
Excellent. Okay, let's wrap it up here. Thank you very much, Gordon.
Okay.
So reminders to everybody to like and hit the bell to get reminders from when we post new videos, and also specifically calling out the AppDevPack course that we've put together. If you go to our website, c3ug.ca/education, you will find the content there that points you to this free course on Google Classroom, over 50 videos and 5 hours of content on how to learn and make use of the AppDevPack. So we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Bye now.